I told you that I have 15 years of bird sightings sitting there in a file that I don't know what to do with, or that I have an idea for a book series that might be like 50 books, but I have no idea how to research it myself. But here's the thing, AI knew exactly what to do with it. Once I started this idea of this growing collection of character studies I've been doing in the Bible, I started to pick apart and start to look for patterns. But you know what? It's not searchable. There's nothing I could do for it. But AI knew exactly what I could do for it, even when I don't know what coding is. I'm not a developer, and I don't even know what a loop is. That's what we're going to talk about today. You know, for a long time, I had that gap, this space between I have an idea for something that I want to do with some data. And I don't like using the word data, but think about it. It's anything like a collection of recipes, genealogy records, something that you have that you want to make something happen with, and you just have no idea what to do with it. And that's where a lot of good projects go to die, including my own. And so today I want to talk to you about what really changed for me. And I don't want you to get scared by the term. It's called vibe coding, and maybe you heard about it and maybe you rolled your eyes at it. But once you see what it can do for you and how your own knowledge of code has nothing to do with it, all you have to do is ask, it becomes a lot different from it. And let me tell you, off the top of my head, it is very addictive once you start understanding it and you get to notice. And the fun part is you can start it using it for free. You can start it with prompts and just see where it leads. So most of us assumes, I think, that, myself included for a long time, that when you have a pile of data, like I said, it could be recipes, it could be a bunch of receipts, it could be genealogy, it could be all your knitting patterns that you have, sitting there. And then you start just staring at rows and rows of data on a spreadsheet. You might think, oh, there's nothing I can do with this because it would require a developer or a boot camp or someone to make this happen for me, that I would have to figure out what to do with this particular kind of data. And it assumes that like a lot of really good ideas that you might have might be sitting in a drawer somewhere. And some of mine sat there for years. But here's some of the options that you can get working with this data, and instead of it just sitting in your junk drawer. And it's not that technical at all. I mean, think about it. Like I said, you might have a recipe box where you just maybe have them sitting out on a Pinterest board, or you have them sitting in a physical box or sticker notes on the refrigerator, a gift list of family members that you frequently buy for, maybe a pile of photos that are in no particular order or not organized in any sort of way. Maybe you have a bunch of books that you like to read or movies that you've watched, but you've never actually tracked any of it. Think about home maintenance or even home inventory. What about, if something were to happen, your home were to burn down, do you have a list of everything that's out there? These kinds of pieces of data that we have, they, like I said, can just sit in two boxes. And one of the products that I started using a few years ago and I really like is called Notion. And people call it like Notion databases, but that is a term that makes it sound way too scary. It's more like an organized notebook. And a notebook that is organized in such a structure, you can actually ask questions of it. And if there's other products out there that you might be able to do too, that if you don't feel like you want to use something as nerdy as Notion, you might think about using Apple Notes. You might think of a spreadsheet. Think about Google Sheets or Excel. You might even think of a Word document or something that's called Google Keeps. There's a lot of people out there that put data into these specific pieces, and instead of it just being this messy collection of documents, maybe you could get organized in such a way that it could give you a little bit more information about it. There's a lot of products out there. And here's the cool thing about it is if you don't know what those products are, you can also ask AI, what can I do? I have these recipes. I want to organize them in a way. What's a product that would work out really well for me where you could help me get it organized? And that's essentially what I did. I mentioned a few episodes ago that I had 15 years of bird watching. That included 850 trips and over 12,000 bird sightings. and that's about 286 species of birds, and it's an archive of data. But I had it sitting in a flat file. What do you do with it? I don't know what to do with it. I'm not a coder. I'm not a programmer. I mean, I could put it in Excel, but then what would I do with it? And so what it ended up happening for me is I took that data, asked Claude to put it into a database. Like I said, I don't like the word database, notebook in Notion. And all the data's there now. All my trips, all my locations, all the birds I've seen, what color they are, where do they like to hang out. And now in real English, I can ask questions of that notebook. I can say, hey, can you tell me every location I've ever seen an indigo bunting? Or, boy, I think that the warblers might be gone. Can you tell me, when's the last time I saw a yellow warbler in my neck of the woods? I can actually ask that question in regular English and get answers from my own data. But essentially, this now works as something that I can track and keep track of, and it's my own information working for me. And like I said, I didn't know a stitch about coding. I didn't do anything. All I did was give it a vague vibe, which is why it's called vibe coding, and a hope. I would really love to have all of this in an organized structure, in a place where I can look up my own data and find out information. Maybe not only that, maybe start looking at, I would like to see a painted bunting. Where can I go see one of those? Now I will have this kind of data available at my fingertips. But here comes my next problem, and this one kind of came to a point last night, is I've been thinking for a while, as you might know, I do 2 Bible podcasts, and I've been building out this whole character study that I've been doing over the course of time. And I had this idea that I wanted to turn it into something else, something bigger, which included a series of books and a website dedicated to this particular study so other people could go look it up too. And all I did was I went to AI. So this is where it gets kind of funny because I look at Claude and ChatGPT a little bit differently. Claude is my professional assistant that knows how to get stuff done. It knows how to code inside of Notion, which is the product I use, but other products as well. It's very professional, and it asks very good, strict questions. Meanwhile, ChatGPT is also very good, and Codex is excellent, and all those things too, but let's not get into that. But I've been using it since September of last year. And so it knows a lot about me. It knows a lot about what I'm looking for, and it knows a lot about this podcast idea that I've been working with for a number of years. So last night, at about 9:20, I asked it a question. Is it possible that through vibe coding, we could create something that would actually produce a website that I could present to other people and make it something that they could use? And guess what the answer was? The answer was yes. Yes, we could do this. And you could use, and it gave me a list of products. Right now, all of them would be free for you. And one of them that I picked was called Vercel. I signed up for an account. It was easy to do. And it said, you know what? When I get programming this website, I will give you a zip file. I'll give you a bunch of files. You'll just put them up on the server and it'll run as a full-blown website. Wow, that's really amazing. I don't know how to code a website. And so it would be able to do it. But all I had to do, the only thing I needed to know was a vague impression of what it is I wanted to have. So I just described it. I want to have this website. I want people to be able to take a quiz. I want them to be able to look at the answers and gain some information out of it. Maybe even look at the information and research it on their own. And it knew exactly how to do it. So the idea is that it is going to do the coding for me, and it's going to do it based on my own words, me explaining it like I would talk to a smart assistant, and it will do the actual work. And then AI writes the code, the actual structure behind the scenes. So here's where AI asked me to back up. It says, it's great you want to do all this stuff, but this is going to take some research on your part. And what I would like to see happen is, because you use the product Notion, I would like us to build something in Notion that will kick off your research. Because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be looking at various characters throughout the Bible and doing analysis on them. And the easiest way for you to do this is to create something in Notion so it makes it really easy for you to do this. Oh, well, I guess I hadn't considered that. So, because Claude, for whatever reason, it has better access to my Notion information, I asked ChatGPT to write up a prompt for Claude to do this work. So then I gave it to Claude. Claude had a few questions. This is where it got weird last night. I gave it back to ChatGPT. ChatGPT answered all the questions. I pasted it back into Claude, and off Claude went and wrote this notebook for me. It took about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And now I have a very nice research structure so that I can start doing this research so that I can eventually produce this material I want to produce. And Claude even wrote a constitution. These are our rules. 1, we're going to have fun with this. 2, we're going to let the text make the decisions, not us. And it gave me this idea. Same thing with the bird eye data. It figured out the structure, what the structure would look like, and taught me how I could ask questions of the data so that I could use it for myself. It even gave me charts. I said, could you show me every month I've seen a yellow warbler? And it produced a really great chart for me. But think about your version of this. Maybe you have a recipe collection that has needing organization for decades. Maybe it's client notes that are all throughout like a couple of different applications or notebooks. Maybe there's something that you've been saving, like an article of a certain kind that you want to actually start looking at it for real life data. Maybe you save articles on productivity and you would love to put them in something so that you could actually come up with workable, actionable items that you could do. I was thinking about my friend. I think that she is an excellent gardener, and she should get a database or a notebook of all her garden stuff, the heights of the flowers, what months they bloom, which ones she liked, which ones she didn't like so much, which ones grew very well, which ones didn't, so that she could ask a question of it. Hey, I have a front row over here, and I need 11 flowers that are under 9 inches tall that are red and bloom right in the middle of summer. It'll be able to tell her, based on her own data, what it is that she has. So if you have some sort of a pile out there, but you're not a programmer and you don't have a programmer around there, think about it, and you just explain to AI just like you would talk to a friend, and it will give you good advice. It will tell you, like I said, if you don't have a tool, it'll help you find a tool. If you don't know what to do with it, it'll help you think about an idea with it. And if you don't even know how to do any of it, it will come up with a plan for you so that it can do it. Here's a bit of a word of warning, is that at some points I have seen AI have asked either to put a command in command prompt in Windows or a command in terminal in Macintosh. It's not entirely safe to do that unless you know what you're doing, unless you can have someone who knows what they're doing look at that command and make sure it's not injecting anything. There was something that was out there that was a Mac hack where people were being told by a website to put this in their terminal code, and what it did is it downloaded hacking material to it. So you got to be careful about it. But essentially, this is you asking in English out loud what it is you're looking for. Do I want a list of all my yarn and all my knitting patterns so that I can get these two crazy kids together and start organizing my information? That's my next project, believe it or not. But maybe you don't need a website. Maybe you don't need something that complicated, but you can have AI help you go through that and decide what is the best way for you to display whatever data it is that you have. So the direction I'm heading with these projects is to make it so that these are just part of my everyday life. This was a huge breakthrough last night. And like I said, it got done. It would have taken me months to do what happened last night, but instead it got done in about 5 minutes. And now it's just about me populating the data, which AI is also helping me do. So my job is the job of a supervisor where I look at that data, I ensure that it's correct, and then I make my final decisions about the data so that I can go ahead and start writing my booklets, start creating my website. So if you have an idea, I would love to hear it. You could put it here in the chat channel. I'd love to hear from you. And you can email me at northwoodsjill@fastmail.com. You can go to jillfromthenorthwoods.com and find all the ways to contact me at the very bottom of the page. But here's the small step that I would love for you to try. Do you have someplace where there's a big messy pile or a list of movies you've seen or books that you've read that you've always wanted to read, maybe. And can you tell AI in plain English what it is you would like to do with this data, or even ask it, hey, I have every book that I've ever read in my entire life. What could I do with this data so that it would be fun and exciting for me to look at? Thank you so much. I appreciate you being there and have a great day.